This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 in RESA's series of webinars, which RESA have begun this year to enable our members to engage with RESA and our partners on topics, challenges, and ideas to enhance your professional and personal development, as well as updating and informing our members of the things that we feel as a peak body should be relevant to you. Now, my name's Cameron. I'm the Partnerships Coordinator at RESA, but today you'll be hearing from our hosts, Trish and Andrew Mackie-Smith from award-winning prop tech company Indox. Hello, Trish and Andrew.
Hello.
Hello, Cameron.
Hi, Cameron.
Nice to be here.
So Indox, if you're not aware of who they are, they were the winner of the PropTech Association of Australia's most innovative prop tech award for property management in 2021. And Trish then followed that up by winning the PropTech Leader of the Year award this year. So we're very excited to have such an authority on tech and change on board with us today, and they're clearly doing a lot right in the industry. Today, Trish and Andrew will be discussing how successful agents are turning buyers into sellers by keeping them warm throughout their relationship. So that's based on interviews and conversations that they've had with people in the industry. So without further ado, I'll shut up and let them get to it. So over to you, Trish and Andrew.
Thanks, Cameron. Great introduction. So we'll start with the slides.
Yep. Okay. So I'm just going to share screen and we'll switch off our video, share screen, and just show you the presentation now.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Cameron, for that introduction. I'm CEO of Indox, as mentioned, and we've been helping agents, homeowners, builders, and councils since 2017 with our award-winning property logbook. And before that, we ran a business that was servicing agents and property buyers and sellers for over 20 years. I have a background as a property lawyer, and I've run a building consultancy with Andrew. And he's been a building inspector. He's issued over 14,000 building and pest reports. So during that time, we've met with high-performing agents who have strategies in place for keeping buyers warm after the sale in order to get their listing when they go to sell. Now that we've partnered with RESA, we would like to share some of those insights with you and what could be an untapped opportunity for you to be able to stand out from the competition. So we sat down and interviewed 15 real estate agents and a CEO of a state real estate institute to get their opinions on what marketing activities they use for staying engaged with buyers after the sale goes through. A few of them had less than a year in business, while one had more than 40 years experience as a successful agent and was looking to retire within the next 2 years. The most successful agents all had at least 5 years experience and were high performing. For all of them, they had one thing in common. They all agreed that looking after the buyers after the sale brings them more listings.
Okay, thanks, Trish. We're going to kick off with something a bit amusing. Now, see this? A sold sign. Now, this is what all agents love to see, except when it's not your listing. And when we asked agents why they provide aftercare, a couple of them said that the thing they hate the most is driving past a property that they sold maybe 2 years ago and seeing either another for sale sign or a sold sign on it, realizing they missed out on getting that relisting of the property with the owner. And they thought, well, they built great rapport with that owner, got on with them well during the sale, but unfortunately they lost contact with that owner and therefore lost the listing. And one agent actually was funny. He said, I feel like pulling the sign out of the ground and calling the seller and telling them they're an idiot. But he said that's just what they think, but obviously missing it hurts. Now, what makes it worse is often the person who picks up that listing is this guy. That's that pesky other agent in your area that actually always seems to be over-promising on the prices and posting on social media excessively. So what the agents were telling us in the interviews is that they felt if the buyer's ignored and they're only given the sort of sporadic, generic type newsletter and correspondence from the CRM, then they're not going to feel the love and they're not going to reciprocate with their loyalty. So after this, you know, beyond the sale where the agent's taking the selfie in front of the property and putting up the sold sticker, and you give them the hamper or that bottle of Moe, sort of what happens next. Well, so when we sat down and had a good long interview with the CEO of one of the Real Estate Institutes of Australia, and they were able to tell us that, you know, they said essentially many agents are very sales focused, and they're treating the interaction with the client, with that buyer, as much more of a transaction. And they're not considering the after sale service aspect, which can bring them more listings because they see that as being years away and their needs are more immediate, like how they're going to make commission for the next month. But again, the contrast was that the highly successful agents were definitely playing the long game, and they were looking to build relationships with all the parties they interacted with to get resale and referrals. And that building of a network mentality beyond just buyers and sellers, but all the people in their community, was very pervasive amongst the top agents. And they were essentially doing this through a combination of digital processes and manual processes as well. They couldn't just rely on digital or manual. They needed to use a combination of both. And the key was always to have it personalized and consistent. So not just one newsletter or two for 6 months and then forgetting it after that. It needed to be consistent and personalized. So again, from the agents we spoke to, we surveyed them, found out their methods and mapped it out. And what came out tops was they definitely felt reaching out to the person, being in contact with them was a way to have focus, connection. Providing a periodic e-newsletter was very popular that would have current listings, recent sales in the area, property finance and tax news and tips, commentary on the local market, and community news. That was one thing that was very popular to have, and it always needs to be addressed to the actual person's name and not to dear homeowner. That was always seen as a not so personalized thing to do. A good presence on social media for promoting their latest listings, and being on Facebook and Instagram seemed to be the popular channels. Not so many of the agents that we spoke to were actually using Twitter or LinkedIn. And something we found that interesting from our other business activities is that the opportunity for agents to explore being on LinkedIn, as it certainly evolved into a more social related channel. And we felt that was a great place for agents to consider being, where a lot of their competitors are not. The old fridge magnet, still popular, including that in a Christmas card seems to be a popular approach, but it's always to make that successful, the agents were telling us to include a handwritten note, and that gave more of the personal touch. Another agent was an interesting one that he told us what he did was to actually not celebrate Christmas so much, because people were doing that, and some people may not celebrate Christmas, but he always thought everybody likes chocolate at Easter time. So he was going around dropping off Easter eggs and hot cross buns and things like that at Easter time, and that was well received. And another agent liked to send a card actually on Australia Day, to be a bit different and to stand out from all the other Christmas cards they'd received from other agents. And the card on the anniversary of the sale of the property is still a very popular one and a very relevant way to stay in touch. But all the agents and the better agents did agree that contacting people at least annually and speaking with them on the phone was the best way. Okay, so now we'll just look at some of the more specific things that the agents discussed with us they were doing. And of course, we've all seen agents doing promos at community events. Here's a picture of a sort of event that was taken in Adelaide. And one of the high profile agents said that she gets actively involved in community events to lift profile, credibility, trust, etc. And to sponsor, by sponsoring local school fetes and events and etc. And after there was some local disasters, being visible and actually helping people clean up their homes and recovering after damaging storms and floods, etc. And by doing those activities, she became very well known in the community and highly trusted and respected, and listings were never a problem. But as she's now nearing retirement, she said that's more of a long-term play, and she's pulling back on that and just relying on the database that she built accordingly. But for someone who's reached a point in their career where they have the finances to do that, it's sort of a highly recommended activity. The handing out of the helium balloons at the fete is very, very, very good for building community. But some of the newer agents, we discussed this with them. They said, yeah, it's a goal, but we can't do that, but we can certainly attend those events, walk around and, meet people in the community and run into clients and buyers and things like that. So that was always seen as a great way to be seen in the community. One of the agents said he even shopped at the supermarket rather than shopping online, because that way he's more likely to run into people, and that those casual sort of interactions could often lead to listing conversations. Okay, next slide. This was a funny one, but one of the agents said to us that what really worked for him was to give a breadboard. So he went and got a beautifully handcrafted artesian breadboard, beautiful loaf of fresh cooked bread from the local Cool Bakery, and some honey from his own bees, and took this round, gave it to the person, and of course, cleverly in the corner of the breadboard, there's a little, his little insignia is sort of burnt onto the edge of the board, and so every time the customer pulls out that to use it on a daily basis, they were seeing his name and his brand and staying top of mind, which we thought was quite clever. And then occasionally when the bees had a good harvest, he would be able to take the honey round and fill up their little honey pot that he gave to them. So that's what he was able to do, and felt that that was pretty well appreciated. The same agent also had another really interesting strategy for staying top of mind and in touch with clients. There's actually a few services available online where they will do this, and I believe the current cost is anywhere from $50 up to like $200. And so what you can do is have an artist will prepare a portrait of the home. So you can get them sketched, or they can be colored images like the one on the screen. And these can be customized with the font and the message that goes on there. So it's usually good to put the sort of name of the family with the home, and then can be a special message from the agent down the bottom, marketed with pride or sold with pride by so-and-so agent, etc. And so this is something that you can just order online and can be then delivered, and the turnaround time is actually surprisingly quick. It can just be less than a week to get this done, and they just do it off of photographs. So it's a great way to customize and a very personalized approach. And this is provided to both the buyer and the seller of the property. The seller as a memento of the property they lived in and enjoyed living in, and then one for the new owner as well. And again, that picture is then hung in the home, and it's got a subtle mention of the real estate agent every time they see that picture there. Again, just thinking of that agent favorably. One of the other things that quite a few agents do is to share some of their trusted networks with their people who buy a home. So many people buying a home are new to the area. Of course, they need to manage their own property. They haven't got a property manager taking care of business for them. So they need to, get the plumber out, an electrician, carpenter, handyman, gardener, painter. They need a building inspector to complete the transaction, etc. And may want to contemplate doing a renovation and need an architect and a building certifier and all those sort of things, or refinance and they need a mortgage broker, a finance broker. So the agents, except for the very new agents who'd only been in a few months, the agents that were established had all these contacts and do share them regularly. But the successful agents really took this to the next level by sharing these networks and contacts with the new owners. And that way, when those trades and professionals met up with the owners, they were able to reinforce that agent, she's terrific, great agent. Yeah, I known her for years and she's awesome. And it just sort of put that good message and singing the praises of that agent. So yeah, that's was one of the agents also remarked to us that they used to be part of the BNI network, but that was $1,980 for them to join, and then $1,232 annually, and that they felt that by providing their trusted sort of network to people, that was a better way that they just gave that to owners. Now, obviously that can be done in a paper format, but if you can give it electronically and a way that an owner can access that on their phone, it's going to be far more useful. So we also asked owners, agents, we said, what happens when you catch up with these people? How do you catch up with them annually? Because you're saying you do that. How is that done? And some of them said, look, through COVID, it was a Zoom call and people were doing the Zooms. They said it's often a phone call, quick call, and depending on the value of the property, some of them were selling properties for 5 and 6 million. One of them had even sold properties over 10 million. And for them, they said it's worth taking that owner to lunch every now and again, every year or two, just to stay in touch. And they could also get some excellent referrals to some of those people's peers who had properties of a comparable value. Now, obviously, all that takes time, but they felt it was very worthwhile considering the commissions that were available on those high-end properties. I asked them, what do they do at those meetings? And they said, just the usual stuff you do at a meeting, talk about the weather, the family, the kids, holidays, what's the local market doing, sales they've done. And I said to them, do you ask for to do an appraisal, or if they're wanting to sell? And they said, never. They would never do that because it's all about sort of building more trust and friendships rather than to be always pushing. And people obviously know they're there, and they said what would be better would be to tell a story that illustrated how they sold a property recently and got a great price for it, and everyone was very happy, and it was fantastic. They said that was sort of far more subtle and more effective way to get the message across rather than being so blunt and blatant and just coming out and asking for that appraisal, or are you selling? So that would contrast with the random phone calls that people might get. So that's just a wrap up of the sort of validation and the survey sessions that we did, the deep interview sessions that we had with those 15 agents and with the leader of the real estate industry. And that's also blended with some of the observations we've made over our 20 years in the industry. And that really concludes our presentation. And hopefully this has sparked an interest in some of what we're doing. And we certainly have developed our products to make the after sales service and customer retention just automated. So Cameron, that's really it for our presentation for now, for the slide part. So back to you.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Andrew and Trish. Really appreciate it. And I hope all you listeners will get something out of it as well. Now, as you've said, looking after your clients post-sale is such an important part of the process, isn't it? It's how strong relationships develop over time. And it doesn't just give you the opportunity to work with that client again, but also the opportunity to work with their network and gain referrals and grow your database. And you're absolutely right, Andrew. Trust is a massive part of this. You know, people don't like the hard sell as much these days. And often people make decisions based on how someone makes them feel rather than just the financials. Do you find that that's sort of something that came out of your interviews?
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes.
Because
yes.
it's just for our own perspective of being fortunate enough to buy and sell and hold some rental properties, is that effectively I think people feel that they're giving a large amount of money to a real estate agent as part of the sale, and they need to like that person to want to do that. And they realise that in a seller's market that the property will sell. And so they're just thinking, who do they want to sell it, and who do they want to spend some time with, and who's a nice person who's doing some things in the community that they can admire, and etc. And that seemed to be really important, is that sense of being part of the community and not just in it for a few years. You definitely have to, that long-term approach was really what people are looking for.
Absolutely.
And they
for
say,
everyone,
I've heard the phrase, to be a consultant rather than a salesman, to be the go-to person that they feel comfortable going to because they've got that credibility already.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So just for all you viewers and listeners out there, so Indox, they haven't spoken much about their own company today, but they're obviously an award-winning prop tech. But the idea of what they do, and you guys can probably correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's sort of like a logbook with all the important documents, maintenance information, contracts, all this sort of stuff that will be transferred from one owner to the next. So think of it, I suppose, like when you buy a car and you get the logbook containing the manual and the service history of that car. And this is the same sort of thing, but with a much, much more valuable asset, which we feel as the Peak body, and the reason we partner with Indox is it's something that should help with the transparency and the overall perception of the industry. Have I got that right, guys? My elevator pitch for you? That's all right?
Love it.
Lovely. So, and I've mentioned it already. They've won a number of awards. They're a partner of ours. So please do jump onto indox.com/RESA. And you'll be able to check out their business and book in a demo so you can see what the platform is like and how it works. Now, on top of this, we've got an exclusive benefit to our RESA members with Indox. So not only do you get a free 45-minute onboarding session, which is usually valued at over $300, but you will also get 15% off your monthly subscriptions for both agents and agencies. So what better time and what better opportunity to just check something out. And really thank you very much to Andrew and Trish for working with us on this. And we think that we can do great things together. But yeah, so see all of you listeners in a couple of weeks for our next webinar with the legend himself, Joel Davis, from another partner of ours, Stafflink. And Joel will be going over 3 of the biggest challenges facing property management currently in South Australia. So we look forward to seeing you all then. But Trish and Andrew, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much today. That was really informative and helpful. Thanks.
Thanks, Cameron.
Thanks, Cameron.
Always good to see you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.